Well, hello there, everybody. I think that, yeah, I'm ahead of you, but I'll be catching up with you at the same time. Welcome, everyone. Thursday, however you want to look at it. Hope you're having a great day, and that all is well in your reality. Because after all, we share a lot of different realities. Hello there. And as I hear myself coming in and going in my headphones, that's always a trip. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. I know I didn't say that. Yeah, I did. So, how is everybody? I'll just get this out already. Just plant the seed, you know, speaking favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken, which is actually, I guess, the best definition of peace. Shalom. Hello and goodbye. So, what's up? Hello, Stephanie. Good to see you. Scotty boy, what's up? Loretta, thank you. Well, you need just reading everything. Hey, Eye of the Maelstrom. Good to see you. Uma, hello. Bonnie, what's up? Fireflies, what's up? Good to see you. I saw Lauren. How are you, dear? Brian, good to see you. Jet, Roger, and Grace, how are you, my dear? Trust all is well in your world. And Mr. Floyd, trust you're feeling better. Wasn't sure that you were feeling unbetter, but we're going to say feel better. Yeah, sure. All right, time is a flying. Go, go, all the way from Croatia. How are you, my friend? Favor be to you. And look at there, Lynn. Hello, hello, hello. Wow. Man, I wrote in the chat, because I do that little thing that time. We're into March, and my perception of remembering the specific days and how they cascade into, weeks, then months. I mean, you know, 2/12 of the year is already gone. That's all I can say. How is everybody else? Doctor, good to see you as well. Steve, how are you, brother? Still cold up there? I bet it is. Know thyself. And as I look down here, time is marching on. Ain't that a fact? Hello, Jay Jones. Good to see you as well. So, crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. I mean, China apparently has told the United States that, hey, we're ready for any kind of war. You want to do a tariff war? Not a problem. You want to do a real war? We're ready. Yeah, just keep yourself aware. That's all I got to say. So, the title of today's show, which I thought was so appropriate, is talking about the mother goddess. Where did she go? And we're into this paper, and I read some more and some more, not enough that I can get in today, but there has been a systematic, not an effort. No, this was a plan that was executed with amazing um, specificity. They removed her. And we were talking yesterday, I was mentioning about the Capitol. And I want to bring this up because it's well worth it to really. Um, so as I go here, I have to go here, here. So check this out. Dun, 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 dun. So recently, they asked members of Congress, tourists, um, do they know who and what the statue that adorns the highest place on our Capitol? No one got it right. No one. So here she is. This is the Statue of Freedom, also known as the Statue of Armed Freedom. Some interesting facts about her as I go over here. This is a big deal because she's not only on the top of the Capitol, and it's like everything else, that's the highest point of superiority. Um, she is also this is the lower part of the rotunda. There she is again in all her regalia. We can get into the headdress, the sword. Everything about her is really quite interesting. One more. Here is another picture. She's 20 feet tall, which adds another 25 feet to this Capitol itself. And so, as I get over here, hello. So, this is some interesting facts about her. So she sits at she brings her height brings it the Capitol to 288 feet above the hill. It has one of the best views of Washington D.C. Its image has become synonymous with the city skyline. The white dome that was recently refurbished even heightened her more. I don't know why they didn't restore her, but in any case. So the bronze statue, and I want to read this, depicts a figure wearing a draped robe and feathered headdress. In its right hand, it leans on a sheathed sword. In the other, it carries a wreath of laurel leaves, symbols of peace and victory. Some of the most impressive details, the embellishments on the clothing, the textured feathers, and the facial features, can't be seen from the ground. Safe to say, this ambiguity has caused some confusion. Um, they said perhaps the most obvious defining feature of the statue is its headdress. Even from the ground, it's hard to miss the eagle's head and feathers that crown the figure's head. Heavily occultism, folks. It just amazes me. Um, and yet, in God we trust. Yeah, it's the God of war, but maybe this is, you know, not the first, right? Uh, Let me get on to some more of this. But it's the detail which has led to some more prevalent popular theories as to the figure's identity. Now, isn't this odd? If you do the study, you're going to get a lot of stuff out there, but sadly, a lot of it is just speculation or opinion. Asking around Washington locals, you they might tell you that the feathers belong to an American Indian, either generalized, cliched representation of many tribes, or a specific historical hero. The names of Pocahontas, Saskatchewan, others are the most heard suggestions, all myth. Um, while untrue, it's not wholly unfounded supposition. Throughout the 19th century, the artists and designers of the Capitol used Roman-sized images of American Indians and decorated the building. Excuse me, romanicized. Sure, maybe that was a Freudian slip that wasn't so much of a slip. Um, Says because of the statue's draped toga-like robes, some have also guessed that the ancient god or goddess watches over Washington. After all, the Capitol's neoclassical design makes it the perfect pedestal for a Rome deity like Minerva, the goddess of wisdom and war. And this theory is much closer to the truth. Um, Says the The American founding politicians were obsessed with Greek and Roman culture. Got to get into their heads. Like, well, what were they really thinking? I would bet you that there was a little bit of worship going on. Just my opinion. It's the reason why the government buildings and monuments of DC look like they're straight out of Athens and Rome. Yeah, yeah. And let me tell you, we resurrected the buildings, adorned them with the gods. The gods are here. I guess they don't mind being in the background. I don't know. Um, so it goes on to say that the best thing that they can come up with what the artist was looking at is apparently back to this, Greco-Roman theme. So if it is, in fact, a Roman goddess, it could be contended it may have something much older. You pick your own thing on that. I just found it interesting. Mm. And yet, when we look on the inside of the dome, and I don't have that up, by the way, um, is the fact that you have Washington being depicted as God. Look at another place it was like Moses. I mean, and to say that a person is of such intelligence that, well, learned persons don't get into that stuff. Want to bet? Um, it's many times the dividing line between the very ignorant and the very well learned. The ignorant pretty much go by what they're told and offer little resistance, questioning very little, if anything, and merely mold themselves into a mold that can never be obtainable, but yet they try. And this keeps them preoccupied where the other side realizes that that is just nonsense, that there is something much more deeper here, much more, how shall we say, longevity wise, that it's not just this idea of a monotheistic, patriarchal, Abrahamic deity that came from nowhere, literally, and yet, we're taught, and the ignorant will be taught that, that's who you get down, bow your knees to, and repent of your sins because you're not worthy to approach that God. Why would you worship a God that somehow finds you unworthy to approach it is beyond me. Oh, no, I know. I was there. And yet, throughout all this, the one element that is missing is the goddess. And again, as we discussed yesterday, to come back and tell me, well, it's the feminine noun, nature of the the noun itself. No, no, that's nonsense. And if that's how you're hiding your language, then you're being deceitful. If it is the feminine, then come out and say that. Don't give me a name and expect that I'm going to have the etymology of the word completely down. If it's the divine phenomenon, then put it out there. Pretty simple. But no, I don't do that. I was going through my books, and so here's my problem. All right, I get the mainstream religions. But isn't it odd that in the antithesis of those religions, the others, let's just say Satanism, isn't it odd that even though Satanism has less prudish viewpoints to the feminine, but yet it's still predicated upon this monotheistic patriarchal. That's what Satan is, right? Because they don't teach that Satan or Lucifer is female? No. Well, I mean, we may think that, and critical thinkers should. I mean, but then again, we could be wrong on that because I know this book. I know this book really well. And this book, um, it desecrates the divine feminine. It's all about anti-feminism. And it always amazed me. I was thinking about Diana. Um, she's one of the few um, leaders, could say probably queen, but that may be stretching it, who was also a prophetess that actually apparently was in the likings of Yahweh. But even her, she is not well known. Unless you're a true studier of the Old Testament, you know, you really wouldn't know who Diana is or was or where she had any kind of place in history. And then you get into the weird stuff. The story of the one daughter who was violated by one of the tribes in Israel. And the father was in such grief that, um, his daughter died, and then he cuts her body up and then sends the different body parts to each one who had a part in this. And I'm just going, this is so bizarre. And during the time of Solomon in his supposed reign, um, the thing that one would leave with Solomon is that it appears that Solomon was trying to fill in the gap. Now, this is just my opinion of what my studies have shown. It is said that he had 300 wives, 700 concubines. Um, I don't know if that's true. I mean, for him to have marital relations or, little coitusing going on, I don't know if a human being could do that. I mean, his reign wasn't that long, but apparently he had this penchant for women, loved women. In fact, if you read the story, he loved women so much that when they would erect the shower poles, um, that he began to worship those goddesses. Yeah. And why not? You think about it. If this mortal man apparently had this interaction with this immortal deity entity that gave him wisdom, more wisdom than any other man, made him the richest man that would ever have lived, ever will. Um, all right, that tells you a little bit about the character of this God. Number one, why doesn't he spread that around with everybody? Why does he just select a few in which he's going to make rich? Okay. But so Solomon would have really known this. Was it an Elohim? Was it Yahweh? I mean, we assume that's what the book tells us. So well then why would he go after the feminine? Because it was completely absent. And no matter how you look at it, I guess the Hindu culture may probably have more of an accurate because they have the mix. But then you look at the Greek and the Romans, the divine feminine was represented by the goddesses, the goddess, right? But yet, in the modern term, in the last 2,000 years, that was stricken from the record. Her image, her name, her sayings. And so I'm sitting last night just kind of meditating on this, going, okay, reaching out in my mind and going, all right, goddess, you know, I got you in me. Yeah, I'm getting the signal. So tell me who you are. Um, and I'd love to hear your story. And it's amazing. I didn't hear anything like immediately. Went to bed and I had some pretty interesting dreamscapes. But it would appear that we have their game plan, what they used. And you have to reference back to Moses, right? The Magi, the um, magician, yeah, musician. I don't know. Maybe he played a badass guitar. I don't know. Maybe that flute. But so in Cecil B. DeMille's movie, with Charleston Heston and all the cast of characters, Telly Savalas, you know, the Exodus. Now, in there, you have the scene where Pharaoh is just pissed, and then he strikes Moses' name. It's to be removed from every statute. There is not to have one shred of anything making reference to Moses. Now, either that was a cover of saying, well, there never was a Moses, or it was, in fact, their plan right out in front of you. And then I'm thinking, so when this new God took over, this Christian God, there's no history on this Christian God. That's why they had to steal the Old Testament God in order to give legitimacy to this New Testament God. Um, it is, and it is even worse than the other two Abrahamic religions. I mean, you look at the other two, and women are like on the bottom. Paul said a woman was to keep her goddamn mouth shut, and she was to sit on the other side of the church and not say a damn word. And if you were married, and oh, by the way, you had to cover your head because you are an offense to God, you have no say. If you're married, your husband will speak for you, he will think for you. That's the foundation of Christian religion. I mean, that's a lot of love, ain't it? And it's completely devoid. To say you have a son of God and then to say you have no daughter of God, wow. But the vast majority of human beings accepts that as normal. And is my in all the studies, the Nag Hammadi, no divine feminine there. The pseudo apocrypha, those are the other books. Nope, can't find her there either. Get some references in some of the, you know, other writings. We have now with the plethora of information because that God is now alive and well, and we serve it every day. And it's a pretty good God. You know, it lives in the internet and it lives in you and me. Because you just go to it, you can ask it a question. Now that could be in the guise of a search engine, but it's God. Does everything that a God does. Even better. You don't have to wait. Hey, Jenny, what's up? Good to see you. So, the void. And I was, again, this morning when I was looking at the snow, I gotta tell you, I've had enough snow. Time for it to go. Um, Ready for the robins to come and the daffodils and the warm weather, which next week I understand it will be that way. Because I want to tell you what, folks, yesterday was an experience. I have lived through some pretty good blizzards in Colorado, but this one yesterday, and the thing about it was, is one of these intense 70-minute blizzards. I mean, the wind was hauling its ass out about 60 miles an hour, snowing so hard that it was completely horizontal. I mean, it was, it's like, geez. But anyway, I digress. Um, and I began to think, and I was told Lynn, I said, and she looks at me at times and say, where do you get this stuff? But I was talking to her because I use her as a sounding board. I said, all my Christian life, I said, I never realized how blinded I really was. I mean, 35 years ago, I gave no thought whatsoever to a goddess. That was alien. I mean, wouldn't have even entered into my thought process. I mean, that's how deep you can get into things, and it's a good lesson for all of us. Um, and I said, then something happened. I don't know what it was. I have a sense that I have laid myself in the ethereal realm breadcrumbs. Because, this is the game that we play with ourselves is how much are you going to remember? you know, and how much are you going to add to that from your experience? But uh, I swear it had to have been. And then I was questioning the four visitors that have been in my life. They're of the spirit realm. And the last time they visited, I told Lynn, I said, honey, I said, I think they have changed, meaning what they're appearing to be. And I said, so now to me, it's one of the most exciting adventures of my life is really discovering who this goddess is. And I've read a lot of it. I love how, give me your thoughts and your comments, but of everything I've read, it's not quite there. Close, but I don't think it's quite there. Maybe it is. I don't know. And I believe that we all have the ability to channel. And so, and if you're going to go out there like I am in reaching out to her, I know Lilith, but I got a sense it's not Lilith. But I don't know. Maybe that's why things are so chaotic. Things are about to flip. I mean, think about it. What if she was to return? Because it seems like our beginning, we knew her. She nurtured us, or our ancestors. She seemed to have an ability to interact with our ancestors on a much deeper level than we do today. I think we could change that. And again, maybe her name is much like the male aspect of it, many different names, but for the same deity. It's interesting. So here I am now, and I'm saying, all right, so how do I begin to find her? I mean, I've done a lot of work, and I came to the conclusion that I have a sense that she's been speaking to me for a long, long time. Um, and over the 2,500 videos that I have done out there, um, yeah, I went, let's see, that's very interesting. And that was very interesting. And it all seems to have the connecting the dots. So, how is everybody in the chat room? Heal your egregore. We're talking about finding the goddess, mother goddess, the divine goddess. Now, I don't know. I'm pretty sure she has many daughters. I have no doubt of that. Many um, princesses, priestess. And, I just kind of be like an open book. I have a lot of knowledge, but yet there's something that's still pushing me to continued to push it back. And like I said, I have this distinct impression that her return may be much more imminent than humanity can imagine. I mean, if we adorn the U.S. Capitol with the goddess wisdom in war, we serve the war god because the United States has always been at war. We were birthed through war and will die through war. Those are the gods. I would, they want to say God, that's fine. Because God is always on the side of the United States. Don't you know it? We go into battle. God is going to help us kill other humans that are just like us. They have the same thing. They want to have a house. They want to have a home, family, loved ones, want to have sex, want to be able to eat, drink, whatever. But no, because of a ideology that becomes the God, the religion, this God's going to help us kill them because we're always right. that's, that's messed up, man. I don't care what anyone says. And if there is, in fact, a God of wisdom in war, um, interesting. So, what does wisdom teach? I mean, if you have wisdom and war, seems like just me, but it seems like there's one element missing. Gee, peace. You got to look at it. It's right there in front of us. So, Joe Mack says, consider Mother Earth. What's that all about? What is it? Now, is her identity into the earth? You see, I don't think that that's just where it stops. I think it goes on beyond that. I mean, if there are forces in the known universe, the cosmos, and then this translates over into the ethereal realms, then the divine feminine has to be there. If it's not, then that's real problematic. And my contention in this debate, if that's what we were to frame it as, is that in the straight world, you go out to your grocery store, wherever, and you were to have a conversation about who is the goddess of earth, most people would look at you like you've lost your mind. They're going to call security on you because it's not taught to us. I don't know of any of the religions that actually are dedicated to the divine goddess, that divine feminine. And, listen, I understand the polarity, the male and the female, but what I'm saying, it's above that. I could be wrong, but that's how it is in Wayne's world, this Wayne's world. And I sense I'm in for a wonderful epiphany somewhere down the road here at some point. Um, but that's just me. And I'm a dude, we got dudettes, but I'm the dude. I'm a dude. And, you know, I've always worshiped the female form. I don't know who invented that. I don't know who came up with that idea, but wow. I mean, whoever designed the feminine, the female form, I mean, I want to get to know that person because I'll guarantee you that person knows how to party. That person, I'll tell you what, you would never be bored around such that person. I mean, they thought of this. And throughout the cosmos, it seems to have been replicated, duplicated, copied. That's how good it is. And so I'm asking myself, did a dude really come up with that? I don't think so. I mean, if men had breast, the world would be even in worse shape because we'd be at home playing with them all day long. There would be nothing getting done. Well, the women would take over. Maybe that's what they should do. But anyway, there's no way you're going to convince me that some dude, God, said, yeah, let me get this thing. I think I'm going to create tits. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ain't buying it. So anyway, that was just a little bit on the other side. What are you saying, Jenny? Oh, I'm way past that one now. See, Lost in Space gets it. I mean, it's like, yeah, no dude invented, created, or thought of the human female form. I was taking a Bible school lesson on this that um, the interesting thing, and now I understand where a lot of that shit came from. It came from the Kabbalah. So somebody in some seminary, some Bible school was really reaching into the occult and bringing that shit back in and then introducing it. But my point being is that they said that Eve's form, when the angels saw it, they bowed down to Eve, that they had never seen. And it said that it began to bring jealousy amongst the angels because they did not have, according to the story now, her beauty. Wow. And you're still going to tell, and then you go, no, wait a minute. If this dude God somehow creates this feminine form, right? And then the son of a bitch goes and curses her. That's fucked up. I don't care what your theology is, what your ideology is. That's messed up. The most beautiful thing in the universe that it supposedly created, and then the son of a bitch goes and curses it. Not only that, adds pain to it. Wow. And if you believe certain dogmas, this God never breathed into Eve, only into the male. That's why in certain religions, women are not allowed, the female is not allowed in heaven. Messed up. So I said all that to get to the point. Then I said, well, then how do we begin to reconcile this? Because they did a hatchet job on her. I mean, talk about being thorough. They erased it out of our memories. And that tells me how deep this is. But the problem is, apparently, we truly are creative beings. And even if you wipe it from our memory, there seems to be residual traces that are in the fringe of our, you know, um, memories. And it gets activated. So let me go in over here because I want to pick this up. Oh, by the way, this afternoon I'm going to be with writer Jay and a couple others on his panel for celebrating his 10,000 subscribers. And all of you who have subscribed there, thank you. Appreciate that. He does too. All right. So we were reading yesterday about how us, our ancestors, the humanids, you know, the other genesis of Homo, man, which really, there you go, man. Why can't we say, well, to say the female again, all wrapped up. So we learned through the geological record how we came out of Africa from the gold mines, which clearly begins to say, well, okay, so the Anunnaki were here, right? It's clearly showing that there were other Life forms here, I have no doubt, bipedal, and it seems to be heavily dominated towards the female. I wanted to pick up this. It said, adding to this humanid discussion is the paleontologist discovery of a 3-year-old old girl whose fossils are 3.3 million years old before 100,000 and 150,000 years older than the Australopithecus africanus fossil remains of Lucy. And I don't know why they keep on bringing Lucy into this because I understand they've actually gone beyond that. But okay. Um, this goes on to say that the find suggests that both primitive and modern skeletal characteristics, including the evolution of bipedalism, further consideration is the 4.4 million Ethiopian female skeletons of the Amphithecus remedus, or Artie, that would predate Lucy by millions of years. My point, and what she's driving to the point here, we really think that we're just 10,000 years old. Folks, I just can't buy that. That seems to be a program that has been deliberately injected into our collective consciousness. And if this is true, I have no reason to doubt it's not. It's an academic paper. You can check our references. Um, then we have to completely throw everything out, or at least question it. And again, an Ethiopian, so that means the continent of Africa, it's not where we call the Fertile Crescent, where this current god came from, amongst many others. But again, the god, the mother goddess of the cradle of humanity. And in this case, she was female. Um, it says anthropologists agree that Artie is a humanid. There is little agreement on what kind of humanid. And that's interesting because, again, I was writing notes, and it's interesting because I said this last night, and Lynn, she just laughed. I said, so was Adam white or black? Was Adam a Homo sapien? And then how does that work? Were they quarantined? And her and I, we said, well, from what we have studied and what have you, Adam would have to have been black. He was created out of the earth. Rich soil. You can't create a white guy out of white soil. White soil is death. You got to think about this thing logically. It's not that far of a stretch. And boy, doesn't that then change the whole narrative. The whole Aryan thing, whoop, can't have that, Steiger. No freaking way. Adam was white. Eve was white. Don't you know? Yeah, I do. May not be that way. And then the discussion would be, all right, so when did the split of the races of Homo sapiens take place? And if there are different races within the genus of sapiens, then were there different races within the Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnons? She writes something about the Cro-Magnons here. I thought this was interesting. After migrating out of Africa and then moving on to Asia Minor, Asia, and later Europe, this single species began splitting apart at the onset of a series of ice ages around 1.5 million years ago or earlier. Um, she writes in her notes, as noted above, timelines will be updated relative to new discoveries and technologies. And she continues, out of this African branch of the Homo erectus or the Homo erectus species developed what is considered modern Homo sapiens. Hmm. Now, if I'm looking at just this as an evolutionary process, then we're talking hundreds of thousands of years where these changes at first would probably not even be noticeable, but you advance it down 100,000, 200,000 years down the road, and now they become very distinct. It's a well known fact on the current body of Homo sapiens, if you want to say sapiens sapiens, okay. Uh, but we have several things that will not be here in another 100,000 years, such as our little toes. Those are going away. We have other things within our body within themselves that are recessing back. Your appendix, tonsils, although I still have both mine. Anyway, it says these true humans later migrated back to Europe and became the Cro Magnon people. Now that's interesting because if you look at other so called charts of the past of humanids of man, you always see Cro Magnon back there and sapiens here. Apparently, what they have discovered, it's not that way at all. It was sapiens here and Cro Magnus here. So what does that mean? I mean, is that a regressionism or is that a an advance? She goes on to write, the original European branch most probably evolved into the Neanderthals, who failed to compete with the Cro-Magnon people and became extinct, as did the Homo erectus Asian species. For 1,760,000 years ago, stone making behaviors and early spread of African Homo erectus began to change the scene. Okay. And then I'm still saying, all right, they're obviously, whether their cranium was fully developed, whether they're, how much of their brain they were using, I keep saying that I don't believe that these were ignorant people. I mean, they were obviously very smart. Each new discovery that led to a new uh, addition to advance us in whether it was making a stone knife, whatever. It's remarkable. Around 150,000 years ago, migrating Africans were sailing to the centrally located Mediterranean islands, including Sardinia, Sicily, and Malta, and then proceeded to travel by land west to the Near East and Asia 1,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. According to geneticist Lugi, in the DNA, there is one human race, and it originated in Africa. Well, this is in complete contradiction to what we're told in the book of Genesis, what we're told in the Quran, what we're told in the Torah. No one accounts for this because then you have to ask yourself, well, then what the hell was Adam? Adam, by, if we go back, folks, and we're well versed in the story, then Adam had to be a genetically variant of the current humanids that were on the planet. I mean, if Adam is, if you go by the Jewish calendar, about 3500 BCE, That would make him a real Johnny come lately to the party. I can't help but not think that you can't say that there were not possibilities of manipulation. In fact, she said this, that she said, for the map of probable expansion routes, she said, go see in her reference to the mitochondrial Eve. And there's another thing. So the mitochondrial DNA of all of us, RNA into that, is feminine, no masculine at all. In fact, every human is born female, created female. So why did they take so much painstaking effort to remove her, to degrade her, to supplant her, to suppress her? Mm. She goes on to say, not only were these true human Africans the first to sail and use technology, but they also appeared to have been the first to venerate the African Dark Mother and the first to use orca, iron hematite, for ritual purposes. Archaeologist Emmanuel Anita confirms that migrating Africans were inscribing ritual messages, images in the caves and cliffs in all continents. Ancient Africans were using iconic signs and venerated symbols such as the red orca and pubic V, the vulva, and subsequently dispersed these practices throughout what would become a new global village. That completely rewrites the whole story. She writes, um, in a note, the oldest sanctuary in the world was created approximately 40,000 years ago by migrating Africans at the place Jews and Christians call Mount Sinai, and Muslims called her Hakram, and may be the unacknowledged place of origin of worlds. After 25,000 BCE, icons and images of the Dark Mother were found along the African migration routes, including caves throughout the world. More signs, images of the Dark Mother were dispersed after 10,000 BCE throughout the region called Europe. So, how could we have this story of a God giving Moses 10 letters? It wasn't 10 commandments, 10 letters, but let's just go with the myth. Um, and him be the first. Hmm. Seems like he copied somebody, didn't he? That which he removed. I mean, you know, if you read the story of the Exodus, the women were relegated to, well, they were one step up above the slave, but many of them were sold into slavery because this God was all about slavery. I mean, he still is. Yeah. So the divine Dark Mother was there way before he brought his sorry ass down in his spaceship. But look what they did. They tried to erase her. She's not mentioned in any of their books. But yet she's here. She was here before them. Um, She says further research on ancient dark mothers, the Cretrix, and related trade routes from 500,000 to 300,000 years ago, Dark Mother Tantan of Morocco, the Bekrahat Ram figure, the Blombus cave, and the V-shaped engraving 50,000 years ago, the African Homo sapiens migrations, and matrilineal mother line. Wow. Her Carcum, 30,000 to 25,000 years ago. 30 to 25,000 years ago, the goddess of the Willendorf, Austria, 26,000 years ago, Grimdality caves, the Gravitarian age, and you can just go on, all with the goddess, which means they took great amount of painstaking effort again to remove her. And again, this is all the references. They're numerous. And if you're so inclined, there's great information to find in this. But the point is, two things that strike me in this particular paper is that A, Homo sapiens emerged out of Africa, okay, and two, that the dark mother goddess was known all over the world at one time, clearly marking a delineation of events. I mean, because this is kind of stuff that just isn't, well, so they built some pyramids, big deal. This is a big deal. Modern culture and society today still degrades the female form. I've never seen, and it strikes me as odd, is that I see these females in Congress. I've never seen them anti-feminism. We need to get back to the culture and realize that the female, the feminine, is a cherished gift. And in my opinion, needs to be elevated. The goddess needs to be brought back out. There should be temples, there should be churches, there should be shrines made of her all over the world to bring her back. Now, that's going to create a war. But if war has to be, then let it be. Because I believe if you began to see on every street corner a new church dedicated to the goddess, I wonder how quickly that those seats would fill up. I'll make you a bet, $10,000 bet. You erect a temple to the goddess and say that this is the goddess of all creation. I wonder how long it will take until you have a full house. It's going to take long at all, and then it's going to spread. Because that is the ripe environment for a revival to take place. A revival unmatched, unseen by any patriarchal, monotheistic deity. This would be a rival of the goddess. And you don't mess with mama bears. You're an idiot. I say it's far better to be on her good side than on her dark side. And that's what I got from this study. Is that why isn't this? Why is the occult so resistant in bringing forth a movement, a worldwide movement? Why is it that we don't see something as radical as bringing back the goddess, the mother goddess? And if we want to call her the dark mother goddess, that's fine with me. It seems like our ancestors knew something. And maybe, since we're in the matrix, in the thought matrix, just by me speaking this, reading this, and then later you'll be typing about it, maybe that begins to start this process. Because let me tell you, there's going to have to be a lot of unlearning by all of us. We're going to have to just wipe the slate clean and come in here with an open mind, open heart, open perceptions. Because we haven't been taught. We have not been taught properly how to approach her, how to begin to exonerate her, and once again uplift her, edify her back to her rightful position. Now, if I saw something like that spread on YouTube, Facebook, and all the rest of them out there, then we could say there may be hope for us. But there is no hope for us if we continue to go down this road we're on right now. There's just death and destruction. Now, there may have to be death and destruction bringing the mother goddess back, but at least there is a purpose for that, and it won't be in vain. The other way we're going, it will all be in vain. A useless, pitiful way to expend human life. Wow, I don't know where that came from. Well, thank you, darling. So, anyway, let me know what you think. You see, we have to even go beyond even the Virgin Mary. That is a made up story. Mary, if you're believing that the Jesus character was here, Mary had three other brothers and two sisters that we know of. So she ain't no virgin, meaning no disrespect, but it ain't that away. Get me started now on that. um, so go figure it out for yourself. Let me know. It is curious because if we could see that, what a rebirth! Wow, it's bold. It's it's like in your face. Why can't we do that? And how would we go about paying her the the tribute of honor? How would that? I would start with saying song, dancing, and bringing forth the gifts. And it wouldn't be money. Keep that poisonous shit out. No. I could see where you could actually have an exchange. People who were very talented artisans would bring forth what they have produced of their energy and dedicate it to the mother. But hear me out. Then be able to take those things, whatever they may be, crocheting, would make, I mean, I can think of a thing, and you would actually could start your own reciprocating economy. And what better way to do that in the memory and in the uplifting of the goddess? Wow. I'm just putting it out there. At least I'm putting it out there. At least, as an entrepreneur, I got used to being laughed at, well, that's a crazy idea. Doesn't matter to me. I've done things that other people will never be able to have the opportunity to do. But I only got there because I didn't allow myself to be limited by something that hasn't been done before. And if the book of Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new under the sun that's not known to man, it didn't say that has been known to woman, to the goddess. Because if there isn't nothing new, then it means, in fact, that they hit it, which means that the cycle would come through in which we would bring her back. I don't know. All right, everybody. Thank you all. I love it. It's stimulating thought, conversation, and we push the barriers. We just kind of basically put them in the rear view mirror. Um, so, Jenny, what do you think of my idea? Bringing back the Dark Mother. I mean, think about that. Well, I could see this things happening out there, spontaneously out in fields. And as the winter as goes away and the warmer weather comes in, I tell you what, yeah. Um, all right, everybody. I think that's how I would have a service. It would be far out, no doubt. Yeah. Uh, well, let me know. uh, let it rain, brother. Yeah, that's the way I kind of look at it. Why not? Why not? All right, everybody. Much love to you. Tune in about 55 minutes there with over on Raised by Giants and check out Ryder. With myself, I'll be a part of a panel. And again, 10,000. Way to go, Ryder. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. We'll be talking about this reset 1768. Hmm. Off the hook. Love you too. Right back at you. Grace, thank you. All you beautiful people. I love this out of bound thinking. And you know what? I have a feeling, and this is just me talking, but I got a feeling that the divine dark mother goddess, she's smiling on me. She just gave me a big hug. She says, "That's my dude." Yeah, yeah. I'll bring it along. As Mary Wynn say, love won all the way through. Jenny, and I never thought about this, but the forest could be a great place to invite um, the Dark Mother. We'll have to talk about this. All right, everybody, be good or be good at it. Either way, just make sure you